Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. Joined by Ken Vellante. He is the owner of Coldwater Strong. All right, so we showed you the triple rig wobbler setup, mandatory, right? And I also don't want to forget what I've got back here. He's got all this broken down into pieces, right, where you can purchase all the different lengths, all the different sizes, the floats, whatever it is, different bells, which, by the way, your bells are awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, these are really cool bells. I've got a lot of different versions. Those are slick. For those high wind days, I thought this one was really cool, too.
Yeah. All stainless steel construction.
I mean, really, that is just super sweet. And this rod holder, everyone, sand or rock spike. Now, for a banky like me, I really appreciate that. And once it's driven into the ground, it's kind of high, and it has a regular rod holder set up on it in hardened steel up on top, so you can pound that thing in there and not worry about bending it or breaking it. How many times have you done exactly that? Bend it or break it, right?
Correct.
So certainly look into all those products. A great kill bag, too, by the way. I mean, you covered all the bases.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a boat fisherman and a bank fisherman, so it's as easy as looking at the product and saying, how can we make it better?
And I think that you've done that a lot. And so far, I haven't gotten myself in trouble with any of my other sponsors. So yet, we're going to get there probably. Okay, so Edge Rod, this is the 11.6 that I showed you just a few months ago when spring Chinook season was up and running. My good friend Freddie Fishkiller found this first before Edge was one of our sponsors, which we've talked about. I love the 11.6. It's not as long as the 12 or 13 or 14 footers that we have to throw big leads, although we were throwing huge leads with them. But in this situation where you're running them out off the bank like what we just showed you, you also have the 2-rig setup that you can cast, but we were already talking about that sandbag's big and heavy.
Correct.
And you got 25 feet of gear out there with that long line setup.
Correct.
If that pin doesn't pop or something doesn't go correctly, you need to have a rod that can actually get the job done.
And this is a very important issue right here is the guys, when you're getting into fishing, looking at this model of rod with a heavy backbone to pull all that gear out is imperative.
And you mentioned it a little bit, right? So imagine you hook a fish on the bottom rig, which I would assume is probably the most common one. Then you've got all those other wobblers that are out there, other rods that are around.
25 above you, 30 below you. You don't have time to sit there and look at the birds and enjoy the fish.
It's grind down.
It's a meat hunt.
It is absolutely fight the fish, get it in now.
Exactly. You got to get it in underneath all those other lines that are deployed out there.
Number one, I appreciate that you thought that far ahead. That's because you actually do it. But you actually make something. This is exactly the setup that we tie them ourselves with 80-pound in between the 50-pound leaders. But you also tie ones that you can cast, just a double spin glow setup or whatever it might be.
And not everybody has a kayak, and not everybody has a boat. So we have this too here and there's different areas. Bonneville.
Yeah.
You can cast this right now and catch
absolutely.
Chinook.
Yeah, and for those crazy ones up there that are running 360s and man, you've got my admiration. I mean, number one, the first person to do that and slide a 360, I just want to say that you just cojones, man. I'm just telling you right now and it works. I've watched
it works.
I've
seen all kinds of plastics behind there, and I'll be trolling right next to them, and their rod's going down.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's a little frustrating.
Yeah.
But yes, no, it's crazy. All right, so the importance of a line counter. Let's make sure we cover that.
The importance of a line counter is that once you are in the zone and you have hooked fish there, it's great to memorize that number, because basically if you have a fish finder on your kayak, you're going out, you spot fish, and you drop it right there and you deploy the sandbag down or whatever weight you're doing, then you can remember to repeatedly drop in the same area. That's the importance, just like trolling.
Yeah.
You know, I caught a fish at 28.
Yep.
Go to 28.
Yeah, no, it's, and for a long time, and I will still say this, if you're casting from the bank, I would not recommend a line counter. Well, number one, all the manufacturers that make them, you're going to burn them up, destroy them. The ones that you're not going to destroy are the Abu Garcia, the magnetic ones that work with electricity, they're electric battery operated. Those can be cast without that initial wham of inertia.
Correct.
Destroying the line counter, so keep that in mind. If you're going to be running it out with your boat or kayak,
line counter is imperative.
All day long, right? I mean, and if you're going to be using a line counter for maybe sockeye fishing when you're casting relatively close to the bank, by all means, you're not putting 20 ounces or whatever ounces of pressure on there on that initial launch where you're going to destroy that line counter. But if you're just throwing 6-8 ounces, 20, 30 yards, yeah, by all means, it'll work.
So when we're up there at Spring Chinook, when we're fishing up there at the island,
yeah,
I don't have a line counter.
Yeah, well, I mean, you certainly could.
Yeah, you could,
but you're just going to destroy.
You're just going to destroy
it. Really.
So I go to a different style.
Yeah.
Open.
Yep.
And it casts
many
a lot
years with many of my sponsors, they would say, "Would you please tell people don't cast with a line counter."
Correct.
Okay, that's one of the reasons why we say that. Okay, so I got about a minute left here. Okay. Anything we can make sure that everybody's well aware of before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, everything we've covered, everything from rods, how to rig it up and everything. They're available at Fisherman's Marine Supply right here.
Okay.
A lot of it.
And it's a system, can you buy it all together?
You can buy the whole thing and also online.
Okay, very good. I would highly recommend that you get the bag, okay? If you're going to try this fishery, or maybe you're already into this fishery, well, if you already are, you probably are already using his bags. But if you're not, by all means, you really need to. It'll make your life a lot simpler. Sand, rocks, whatever works in there. Also, if you just want pre-tied stuff that you don't have to mess around with, that'll make your life easier when you're on the water and more efficient, which will help you catch more fish in the long run. There's just no doubt about that. Look them up, man. First thing, I'm just super impressed with your gear.
Yeah.
But thanks again for coming in.
Yeah, and one thing, the temperatures are really high right now, and so it's imperative that, for good fish quality, to cool your fish down.
Yeah, your kill bag. Number one,
I'm not pitching this, but it's so important. Even if you're in the boat or on the bank, getting them on ice is really, so that meat is really nice.
Especially for fall Chinook.
For fall Chinook.
Silver is even better once you take care of them. All right, everyone, take care. Again, Ken, thanks for coming in and sharing this.
Thank you so much.
I know it went by very, very quickly, but it's great info, great products that you put together. And again, thanks for sharing that with everyone.
All right, thank you very much.
We'll be back to give you an idea what we got going on for tomorrow and your